Good evening and welcome to the Pompey Politics Podcast, the podcast where we explore matters of national, international and local importance, asking thoughtful questions to get to the heart of the matter. I'm Ian Tiny Morris.
And I'm Simon Sainsbury, and our apologies for the delayed start there. We had some technical issues just as we were going live, so these things are sent to try us. But here we are. So talking about things previously unexpected, so why have we got our hustings in for Paulsgrove?
So yes, Paulsgrove is. We thought it was going to have to be next May until we had all the joys of a local election to cover. But Brian Madgwick, unfortunately, from the Portsmouth Independence Party, had to retire early before his time was up due to ill health. And because that was more than 6 months from the election date in May, a by-election was triggered, and obviously that has sent all of the 5 major political parties in Portsmouth scampering round to have a Paulsgrove by-election, and we're lucky enough to be joined by a couple of candidates for this evening's hustings.
We are indeed. Ian, your screen's frozen again. While I just go on and explain about the existing candidates before... you're back. Okay, so we've got 5 candidates in the Paulsgrove by-election. So we've got Georgina Ayling for the Green Party, Thomas Hoare for the Conservatives, who's joining us tonight, Sydna Phillips for Labour, who's also joining us tonight, Michelle Simmons for the Liberal Democrats, and Joe Standen from Reform. Now, just to kind of be clear and open, we sent invites to all of the candidates as soon as they were known and asked them whether they would actually be able to take part. Unfortunately, Georgina and Michelle weren't able to take part due to previous commitments. And although Joe had originally, when we'd contacted him as soon as the by-election and the candidates were confirmed, although he'd originally said that he was going to be able to take part, unfortunately, yesterday he let us know that he may well not may not well be able to join us. So unfortunately, Joe is also not taking part, but we are still joined by Thomas Hoare for the Conservatives and Sydna Phillips for Labour. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you both very much for joining us and for putting up with our kind of technical tests there. Not quite sure what was going on, but we will pile on through it. So before we went live, we carried out highly technical and scientific randomization mechanism that allowed us to understand which candidate was going to have their speech first and which candidate is going to have their speech second. Thomas won that toss and is going to go first. So we're going to have the speeches, and then as we go through each of the questions that we've got, we'll ask them of the candidates in order. In an alternating order, so that they've both got a chance to answer a question first and second. And once they've both answered a question, there is an opportunity for a 30-second rebuttal. So each response is up to 90 seconds. Each speech is up to the opening speech is up to 3 minutes. A 90-second response, an optional rebuttal at the end, although we've asked our candidates to try to use those sparingly and not just to have the last word, because we figure that's just boring for people watching. But there might be points that have come up in the other candidate's response that they want to address. And at the end, then we'll have closing speeches again in the same order. So everybody up and ready, and let's get going. So Thomas, if you don't mind starting with your speech, please.
Hello everyone. As Ian and Simon introduced me so kindly, my name is Thomas Hoare and I'm the Conservative Party candidate in the Paulsgrove and Paul Solent by-election. I just want to take a few seconds at the start to thank both Ian and Simon for putting this hustings together. It's really important that local people, local residents are at the heart of what we do, and it's really important that they can hear from us. I would also like to take a second to thank Sydna. Although ideologically we disagree, we are opposing candidates, I think it's very good that she has come along to this debate. It's about being free, it's about being open, it's about being contactable. A bit of background around me. I've lived in Paulsgrove my whole life. I've lived everywhere from Dormington Road to Harwich to where I am now. I want to work for this community. I don't want to work because I want a seat. I don't want to work because I want to follow national conservative principles. I want to work for us. I've seen the issues in our community. I've lived them. I'm born and bred Paulsgrove. From the antisocial behaviour we're currently experiencing at the park, at Paulsgrove shops, along the top of the hill, all the way through to the deprivation rate we experience with health in Paulsgrove. We are one of the worst deprivated areas in this country, and we are changing that, and we need candidates who can change that. I've been out in the community over the past few years, leading resident groups. I've been talking to residents. I've been working with authorities and working with other community groups. I've worked in small businesses. I've worked in big businesses in Portsmouth. I know the scope of the job. And it's really important that people know, and that at the end of this election, we're working for Paulsgrove, no matter what. Whether it's win or lose, we still need to be here. We still need to fight for what's right. I want to also speak a little bit about sort of what's happened with the Conservative Party over the last few years. We have made mistakes. There is no way around it. We have made mistakes. National government has made mistakes. We need to accept those mistakes. We need to accept they were wrong. We need to move on. It's only if we move on that we can be credible. You know, I would not stand here and say that I agree with every single national Conservative policy, as I'm sure Sydna does not agree with every national Labour policy. It is about my community. The Conservatives are the people I align with. The residents of Paulsgrove are the people I want to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so apologies, Sydna. Now it's your turn for your speech. So away you go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Thomas, for a really good opening speech. I've got something to follow. My name is Sydna Phillips, born and bred in Paulsgrove as well. I was born into a very political household. My dad is Sid Rapson, who was a Paulsgrove councillor for 28 years. He's been a Lord Mayor for the city and also the MP for Portsmouth North. My mum is Phillips Rapson, and she used to be a councillor for Cosham. My brother and I enjoyed yearly trips to Tolpuddle, and we used to march under the Labour Party banner and even knew all the words to the songs, which I probably should be slightly embarrassed about. I became a member of the party when I turned 15. I was out canvassing and delivering leaflets, and sometimes would accompany my dad to visit constituents. He also introduced advice centres into Paulsgrove, and I used to help out there. That was where I got my first taste of what being a politician locally is all about. I remember having this really strong desire to be able to help people by solving problems, providing support. I joined the debating class at college when I was studying politics, which honed my skills at arguing, and I learnt about access to public funding and how that all works. I got distracted from politics for a while when I married a naval officer, had a couple of children, and he was away at sea for a lot of the time, so I basically brought my family up single-handedly. I also have a job working for the Ministry of Defence, which I've had for 32 years, so that time of my life was really busy. Obviously now I've got older, my family have grown, and now I have the time to actually spend doing what I really want to do. I would love to have the opportunity to pick up where my dad left off. I look around Paulsgrove and I see neglect and underinvestment. We don't seem to have a voice at all. The Rapson family has a legacy to maintain, and there will be no broken promises, no sticking my head in the sand when things get difficult. And I want to be a voice for those people that don't have one. So that's why I'm standing.
Thank you, Sydna.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to go to our first question, and I'm going to come to Sydna first for that. I'm just going to I'll ask the question first, and I'll switch over. My apologies, I've had with the technical issue that we've had some slight kind of things. So our first question is, what are the people of Paulsgrove telling you is the most important issue that they want addressed? And if elected, how will you, as a councillor, address it? That's to Sydna first, please.
Okay. The biggest thing that I'm coming across when speaking to residents is antisocial behaviour and crime. Amanda Martin, our MP, has been fighting to get more bobbies on the beat, and they will be coming onto our streets at the beginning of next year. But the challenge is to make sure that Paulsgrove gets their fair share of those police officers. But I also want to look at why the antisocial behaviour exists and how we can tackle it right from the root cause. And I think it comes from there's nothing for kids to do. There's no clubs. We used to have Hillside Youth Club, we used to have the Grove Club, which had youth workers there that the kids could talk to, that was separate from home and school, where a lot of problems actually stem from. I would just love to bring that back, and especially with the Pride in Place money, that would be a place where I'd like to see it invested. Bringing into youth care, even a rehearsal space for bands, tying in with the existing boxing clubs, and kind of get a special community hub that for the residents to bring back that community spirit, which is so strong in Paulsgrove.
Thank you very much. And the same question, please, to Thomas.
I've been out and about, not just over this election, but before this election, talking to residents. And there are three big things I'm hearing. In Paulsgrove, we do have parks. Those parks are inaccessible. They do not work for us. Those parks have wood chips on the ground. They have outdated equipment. They have rusted equipment. We need better parks. And it does play into a second priority, antisocial behaviour. There is an offer in Paulsgrove. There is. Is it an offer that entices young people? Is it an offer that gets them off the street, gets them into our spaces? No, it's not. The council needed to work hard on that. And that's something that I'm doing through the community work. The other thing I've heard is traffic and transport. As we know, parking in Portsmouth is atrocious. We are the second most densely populated city outside of London. We can't park. There is no way from Tintagel down to Poets Corner, over to Poets Corner, all the way down to Port Solent and into Wimmera. There is no parking spaces. Those are the issues residents are raising. Those are what I'm going to fight for. We need to work for that, but it's not about throwing money. It's about root causes and embedding practices into our community so that even long after politicians are gone, the community works for itself.
Okay, lovely. That was perfectly timed. Thank you very much. Ian?
So, big topic, hot topic at the moment, local government reorganisation. Good thing for Portsmouth? And can I ask that first to Thomas, please?
Well, as you'll know, local government reorganisation, or LGR colloquially, is a big thing. The Labour government gave Portsmouth a small fractional time frame to sort out a fair deal for us. They gave everyone in Hampshire that same time frame. The issue with that is, while here in Portsmouth we didn't suffer from cancelled local elections, other areas did. We cannot stop the will of the people, whether it is for us, whether it is against us. It's not doable. The other area I would like to talk about is the debt from Hampshire. Now, there does seem to be confusion with sitting councillors between debt and deficit. They're not the same thing. Debt is the money that we owe. Deficit is the money we are losing every year. It is that simple. Hampshire County Council are in debt. They have a deficit. They are in debt. We, if we merge with Gosport, Fareham, Havant and parts of East Hampshire, will inherit some of that debt. But there are positives. The positives are we will have a mayor with devolved power. That mayor will be able to do more for us. However, It is about making sure we get the best deal for Portsmouth. And at the end of the day, we can't stop this. This has been forced on us. We have to make sure we get the best deal. There is no point running a campaign to try and fight it. It's not going to happen.
Thank you, Thomas. So, Sydna, your perspective on local government reorganisation?
Well, the way I see it is Portsmouth is already a unitary authority, so we deal with things at county and city level already. So there is an argument that we could have been left alone. The problem with that is the baseline for the population within those areas is 500,000. And Portsmouth only has 214,000 people, so we would have to join with someone. Portsmouth is a very proud city with its own very strong identity, and I would be extremely cautious of anything that would dilute that. We're already the poor relation in Hampshire. We don't have a great success rates with bids and investments. And especially for Paulsgrove, which is always overlooked, that would put us at even more danger of not getting any money. I can see it from the other side, from a business perspective, in that there are efficiencies to be made, where shared services, getting rid of duplication of processes, this all could lead to better services for people, especially with transport links. How many times do we moan about haven't buses, etc.? And it may actually reduce our council tax. Who knows? I mean, it's not a magic wand, but you never know. So I don't support it. It clearly benefited local people and not bureaucrats.
Okay.
Thank you,
Can I overrun, but we could. Yeah, no, by all means. Sorry, I was just sorry, Ian, to interrupt. I know we kind of went slightly over there on Sydna's response, but she was kind of mid-sentence. So
no problem. Thomas
wanted to come back in.
Yes. So Sydna, I would just say on the point of us getting grants and funding bids, actually, as Portsmouth City Council, we are quite successful. You know, I'm not a Lib Dem. However, the Lib Dems and the previous Conservative administration in Portsmouth did get us funding bids from central government for buses. Portsmouth buses are very good. We've got funding bids from central government for the Pompey link running from Paulsgrove into the Cosham interchange to Port Solent. It's about time we did have something running there again, but we've got it.
It's outside of that area though, into Havant, into Gosport, into Fareham. We've not got that investment to link all those areas up. So it might be okay within the city, but not the outside of the city.
Okay. Thank you both. I guess LGR is still cooking away, so we will see how that develops. And our third question is: how important is it to live in the ward that you represent? And I'll again go first to Sydna, please.
Okay, well, I currently do not live in the ward. I actually live 5 minutes just outside the ward, but I shop in the same shops. I go to the same doctors, and I use the same roads, and I use the same buses. I was born and raised in Paulsgrove. I am also a member of the exclusive club of ex-King Dick pupils, which everyone will know if they've been there. At one time, I had 100 family members that lived in the Grove, and my parents still live in Paulsgrove, so I'm up there all the time. Paulsgrove has a very unique community, and you have to be part of that community to properly understand it. Portsmouth it's often referred to as a northern city on the south coast, and I think that is so much more apparent inside of Paulsgrove with that community spirit where we all look after each other. Issues are usually sorted out internally by the community, and what matters is you see, if you're going to represent an area, you should be seeing and experiencing the problems that people are talking about There's representation is about empathy and accountability. And there is nothing worse than being in the queue at Audi. You've promised to do something for someone, you haven't done it, and you know for sure you'll be called out. So yes, and being visible. So I think it's very important.
Thank you very much. And Thomas, the same question to you, please, and I'll let you kind of overrun as well a little bit if you need to, because obviously we've got a bit more time than we'd previously planned.
Yeah, being connected to your community is key for local councillors. I do live in the ward. I've made my address quite public on the nomination papers. You know, I'm proud to live here, and I am also a member, an ex-member of the King Dick Club. I also went to the Victory. I started out my school years in Paulsgrove Primary. I remember the walk home from the Victory, going to Spangle's Sweet Shop, stopping in what was McColl's and getting a slush puppy, or even going to the park. Having that connection to your community is vital. You cannot stand for your community, you cannot talk for your community unless you live and breathe that community. When you're used to being in that community and you see the flaws, it frustrates me when we have people from government, we have bureaucrats, we have outsiders who don't really understand our community, and it's across everywhere. We have professionals come in and they don't do the work to understand Paulsgrove. They simply say, these are your statistics, this is what you need to do. No, that's not what we need to do. These are the statistics. Let's listen to how the community wants to change those statistics. Let's do that. That's the only effective way to make positive change. And it's also interesting to note that with our communities, we're all intertwined. Everybody in Paulsgrove knows each other.
That's fine, because
Everyone in Paulsgrove knows each other. We all know of each other. We are all connected in some way. And it is vital that whoever our next councillor is can fit into that community. They should not be coming in dictating. They should be coming in and working with us.
Okay. Thank you very much. So the area around Paulsgrove and on Portsdown Hill is often used as an illegal racetrack. Is enough being done to stop this, and what's your solution? And to kind of maintain the kind of back and forth that we were doing, I'm going to go to Thomas first on this one, if that's okay. So Thomas, your answers on that one, please.
So the area on top of Portsdown Hill is being used as an illegal racetrack. Is there enough being done? No. I know for a fact, because I've spoken with Donna Jones, our Police and Crime Commissioner, that she offered the Portsmouth City Council teams money to install CCTV on the top of Portsdown Hill. They didn't take that further. Residents are raising it. Portsmouth City Council didn't act. We've been ignored again. I also know that the area around Paulsgrove Park is being used as an illegal racetrack. The very fact that that park is located between 3 primary schools, where 3 of them have provision for 3 to 5-year-olds going up to year 6, so 11-year-olds, and people find it interesting. People find it to be a positive move to race bikes there. Somebody is going to get seriously hurt. We do have beat bobbies in Paulsgrove. They were brought back January last year as a promise from the Police and Crime Commissioner. They are out and about, but the need for them to be more visible now is rising.
Okay. Thanks very much. Same question, please, to Sydna.
I myself are affected by the illegal racing that's going on, and in the summer months I can't open my windows because it's so loud. I know Amanda Martin has been arranging a number of residents' meetings where she gets the police to come along. The police are as frustrated as we are. They hear it from their own police station, but they just don't have the resources to provide the adequate cover to sort it out. So I would be pushing for average speed cameras, which have been used in other parts of the country for this exact same problem. And as Thomas said, it is a shame the council didn't take up the money that was offered to sort this problem out. It could be an easy win for the council because the fines themselves should be able to pay for the cameras. But another possibility is a design change to make the roads more physically harder to race. But everyone deserves peace and quiet and a good night's sleep.
Thank you, Sydna.
Indeed, they do.
Hopefully you can hear
Welcome
me
back.
now and I'm back.
You are indeed. Welcome back.
That's marvellous. Apologies for that.
That's okay.
So happy to pick up question 5.
Okay, go for it.
So the question there is, how much do you think that national politics will influence the outcome of this by-election? And can I ask that first to Sydna, please?
National politics, they'll always play a role in local elections, which is quite unfortunate because I always think it should be local people for local issues. The amount of times I've been on the door and people have wanted to talk about national issues, and it's something that I wouldn't be able to deal with. I would have to pass it elsewhere. It's a good reminder for people that they're not voting for Sir Keir Starmer, they're voting for Sydna Phillips, a mother of 3 and a grandmother of 1 that gets wound up by the same things that you do. They wind me up as well. And I believe in putting community before your party and standing up for what's right for local people, even if it means challenging my own party. However, I believe if you're elected under the banner of a party, you should not be allowed to swap and change to whatever popular party is at the moment. I could stand in this election as an independent and next week swap to Labour. Next week, the week after that, swap to Tory. And I think that process and that being allowed to happen needs to change.
Thank you, Sydna. And Thomas, your perspective on how national politics may or may not influence this election?
Yeah, I mean, Simon and Ian, I don't need to tell you. You've been in this long enough to know, as well have I. National politics always affects local politics. It is always the polls of the day that affect what happened on the polling day. That's sad. It frustrates me, as I'm always the first to admit the National Conservative Party did get things wrong. We have now started that renewal process. That's going to take time, but it will affect local Conservative candidates. On the matter of on the doors, people know that. I'm seeing more and more of a positive response. I campaigned during the general election, as I'm sure Sydney did as well. I am seeing a positive response coming back. People want to see change. Some candidates talk the big talk about local issues. They say, we're going to solve this, we're going to solve this. They get elected, and suddenly it's what's going on in Gaza. Well, you're a local councillor for Paulsgrove, not really in your remit. You should be talking about Portsolent or Wimmera or Paulsgrove, not the Middle East. The other issue I'm seeing on the doors is that more and more people are feeling like the change that's offered by candidates isn't real. Can you really have change when it's more of the same? But it will influence the outcome of the election. You would be silly to say it's not going to. It will just be a shame to see how much by.
Thank you, Thomas. And Simon?
But did anyone want to use their rebuttal on that one at all? Doesn't seem like anyone's eager to do so. That's not a problem at all. So question 6. So Portsolent and Paulsgrove have very different resident demographics, needs and challenges. How would you address those different needs? And I'll come first to Thomas, if that's all right.
Funnily enough, I was out on the door yesterday in Portsolent and I had this exact conversation with somebody. We spoke about the fact that although it is Paulsgrove, it's Paulsgrove and Portsolent. They feel very differently. They act very differently. There's different offers in both. One of the things I've noticed is there is a weekly resident surgery here. I think that's a good thing. However, it's not very accessible to those that are always at work during the day, and it's not very accessible to Portsolent. We need to make sure whoever wins this election knows that the people in Portsolent can't always get into Paulsgrove to come to those, especially when it's people who have worked their entire life. They're now retiring, they're spending their time walking along the boardwalk, they're spending their time going out and helping in the community. They don't always have the opportunities. And especially in Portsolent, a lot of the issues I'm hearing are around parking. It's around protecting things like the Portsolent car show, making sure everyone knows what's going on. and the level of deprivation. We know deprivation in Portsmouth is different. We know it's different in Paulsgrove, and we know it's marginally different in Wimmera. You've got to remember, Wimmera was a part of Cosham for a very long time, as I'm sure Ian and Simon would know. But it's about being proactive. It's about our next councillor knowing it's a different sort of ball game, knowing it's a different field, and making sure they work that area as well as Paulsgrove.
Okay, perfectly timed. And Sydna, same question, please.
I'd just like to pick up on that, remembering to include Wimmering as, because being a local girl, I know that separation is important. So Portsgrove, Wimmering, and Portsolent. I just wanted to put that there.
Our apologies for the faux pas there, for the slight mix-up, and apologies to the people of Wimmering for inadvertently leaving them out there. Please don't write a protest campaign.
There are very different communities, but both deserve the same level of attention and respect. So I'd hold regular drop-ins and in the different areas, giving them the same amount of time. And again, picking up on Thomas's point, it does have to be coffee mornings and evening events, because we can't all attend coffee mornings due to jobs. All parts of the ward deserve a councillor who listens and delivers the promises that they make. So it's important just to listen to everyone and the differences that there are, and appreciating those differences and needs, and prioritising as necessary.
Brilliant.
Okay,
Thank you, Sydna. And that brings us on to our last question. But a rather nice question for any potential politician to have to answer, which is that there's been significant investment announced in Portsmouth and £2 million a year for Paulsgrove over their next, or for 10 years. So I guess the key question is, what should that money be spent on? And can I ask that first to Sydna, please?
Yeah, this Pride in Place is absolutely fantastic news. It's a once in a generation opportunity to really improve things in the area. Amanda Martin personally fought for this for Paulsgrove, and it's proving that Labour are actually listening and delivering within the area. I've been out speaking to people, and I've also been handing out surveys, because it's really important to Amanda, and it will be to me if I was elected as the councillor, that the residents actually decide what that money gets spent on. They know where it's needed. They know what needs to be changed. I don't want someone coming from outside and making that decision for Paulsgrove. There will be further consultations down the line to make sure that we are giving everyone a voice about how that money is spent. And it's really important to Amanda that that is how it is spent. So
lovely, thank you, Sydna. And same question to yourself then, Thomas.
So the Pride in Place money fundamentally will be a good thing. You know, I'm involved with local community groups, and I know that they are screaming for funding opportunities. In terms of how I think it is spent, I think that's kind of irrelevant. The money is for Paulsgrove to decide how it's spent. It's not for me as a candidate, as a councillor, or as a councillor if elected, to tell them how to spend it. It's about asking residents. And as a resident, I will have a stake in that. I will make my voice clear to the funding people, but I don't think it's right for me as a candidate to sort of give influence over that. The only thing that I would be concerned around is, this was a very recent announcement. This was an announcement that was announced in the by-election. I'm not sure that's the best timing. You know, a cynicist might think that it's a political announcement, but on the base level, 20 million for Paulsgrove over 10 years, 2 million a year will be a positive thing. I just hope it's spent successfully, transparently, and it's spent in the way that Paulsgrove residents actually want it spent, to see positive change in our community.
Brilliant, thank you, Thomas. So that brings us to the end of our questions, and thank you so much for taking the time to answer those. I will now pass over to Simon for the closing speeches.
Okay, so thank you very much. I will. So we'll ask for the speeches in the same order that we did the opening speeches. To be honest with you, I'll give a bit more free license with the time, because we've won, obviously, where we'd planned things out for 3 candidates, and so we've kind of come out of this with a bit with a bit of spare time for the rest of the episode. So by all means, kind of, if you want to kind of overrun, then that's fine. But if I can go to Thomas first, please, for your closing speech.
On the 23rd of October, Paulsgrove, Portsolent and Wimmera has to decide its next councillor. If you want to see real positive change, real local change from a person with the lived experience of you, someone who is living the same experience of you, and someone who has done the things you do, then you know who to vote for. There is one candidate on this show today. There is one candidate who is local. There is one candidate who will say they're local. There is one candidate who, to be honest, I feel like I'm saying I'm local that much. I'm starting to feel like Keir Starmer saying his dad's a toolmaker. But it's key to know. People have to know that there is a local choice. There is a choice of someone who has worked across our community over 2 years, not just turned up for a by-election. You know, I've volunteered at Christmas to help feed people in need. I've volunteered with community groups at Easter events. I've volunteered across the year. I go to the Paulsgrove Wimmera Carnival every year. I go to the Portsolent Car Show at least once a month. I've walked along the boardwalk. I've walked along our streets. I'm not here for a by-election. And if I'm unsuccessful, on the 24th of October, after the vote count, I will come back home to Paulsgrove and I will start work on working for Paulsgrove again as a resident. I don't need to be a councillor to work for Paulsgrove. However, being a councillor would give me statutory power to fight for you in council. I'm raising issues as it is. I'm working with the Police and Crime Commissioner on antisocial behaviour. I've had conversations with her. I'm working with the traffic team at Portsmouth City Council to get our traffic offer improved. I'm working in the community continuously. It's not about a by-election, it's about Paulsgrove.
Okay, thank you very much, Thomas. And Sydna, same thing. We'd originally said a minute, but by all means, kind of fill your boots. I'd kind of let that run for like the same as the opening speeches. So your closing speech. So you're now, please. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not your typical politician. This isn't a career for me. This is a social commitment. Paulsgrove has been neglected for far too long, and I want to be the voice for those without a voice to speak and be heard. No false promises, no scandals to rear up. I have no skeletons in my closet that will cause another by-election in 2 years' time. And I'm so proud to be a Grover. It's such a, it's an amazing place to be. I love pottering around Paulsgrove shops, but I really would love to see it get the attention and the investment that it so desperately needs. I know the challenges that you face because I face them too, exactly the same as you. Having a Labour MP in the area who has already proven that she delivers for our community is all well and good, but she needs councillors to actually work, in particular in regard to how this £20 million is going to be spent. If you vote for me on the 23rd of October, Amanda and I will make a formidable team fighting for Paulsgrove, Wimmera and Portsolent. And I promise you that.
Thank you, Sydna, and would like to thank both of the candidates that came along today. It's these things are never easy to face the scrutiny and to answer those questions that are what's important to the electorate. So we would like to thank you both for your time. Obviously, it is voting on Thursday. If you're in Paulsgrove, Wimmera or Portsolent, the most important thing is to get out and vote. Don't forget your photo ID. Hopefully for the last few frantic days of campaigning, let's hope the weather improves and you can get out there and knock some more doors.
And if I would just be able to make one non-point, the polling stations. Am I okay to list them
Yes.
off quickly?
Yep.
Yeah, please, that's fine.
So if you're in ballot box LF, you would have got your polling card. Your polling station will be the the Hillside and Wimmera Community Centre. If you're in LG, which is Port Solent, you're not in the Port House. You're going to the City and Guilds Training Centre. It's just by Harvester. If you're in LA, it's your usual High Slopes Community Centre. If you're in any of the other ballots, it's your typical voting place.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Thomas.
Fantastic.
And
Thank you for that.
well played to Simon for battling through all the technical issues. So this evening, you've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
And our guests this evening have been Thomas Hoare for the Conservatives and Sydna Phillips for Labour. I've been Simon Sansbury. You've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast. Please do join us next week at a change to our normal time. We've changed it due to time zone issues. So we'll be speaking to British voters overseas and hearing what problems they have and challenges they face engaging with the British democratic process, literally being in different time zones. So that's why we've done that, so that someone doesn't have to get up at 2:00 in the morning to come on the podcast. And then the week after, we're speaking to Let's Stop Aquind and asking them for an update on what's happening about the controversial Russian-backed electricity interconnector project that's due to scythe its way through Portsmouth. I hope that's not too dramatic, but please do make sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you find us. We really do appreciate it. Thank you both very much for your time, and thank you everyone for your attention. And please do remember to vote. It's the most important thing. And as Ian said, you will need your photo ID to be able to vote. Otherwise, you'll get turned away. But ballots open 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. So we will see you next week. And thank you again, both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, follow and comment on Facebook, or comment and subscribe on YouTube. Find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, X, YouTube, Threads, LinkedIn.